What if the quietest chapter of their lives suddenly became the loudest celebration of all? This Christmas, the story did not whisper. It arrived boldly, wrapped in wonder, light, and a kind of joy that could no longer be contained. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo, long associated with restraint and privacy, stepped into an entirely new role as they marked a milestone unlike any other. The twins' first big Christmas. And this time, they went all out. Right now, right before the next revelation, is your chance to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another powerful story, another shocking twist, or another unforgettable journey. From the very beginning of the season, something felt different. Not rushed, not hidden, just full, as if the air itself carried a sense of arrival. This was not about image or speculation or legacy. This was about creation, about firsts, about the once-in-a-lifetime magic that only happens when two tiny lives experience the world for the very first time. For Lee Min-ho, Christmas had always been a pause. For Song Hye-kyo, a moment of reflection. But this year, it became transformation. The celebration was imagined as warm, immersive, and intentionally extravagant. Not for attention, but for memory. Every detail chosen with care, not to impress an audience, but to delight two little souls discovering light, color, and sound for the first time. The home became a world unto itself, filled with gentle glow and childlike wonder. This was not subtle joy. This was deliberate joy. A towering Christmas tree stood as the centerpiece, not pristine, but playful. Decorated not for perfection, but for imagination. Soft lights flickered at eye level. Ornaments chosen not for elegance, but for curiosity. Everything was arranged with the understanding that this was Christmas seen from the floor up, through new eyes, through wonder still unshaped by expectation. Song Hye-kyo moved through the space with quiet emotion. Not the composed grace the world knows, but something softer, more instinctive. A mother watching the smallest reactions become the biggest moments. A smile at a sound. A pause at a color. A laugh at nothing and everything all at once. Lee Min-ho, known for his calm presence, became something else entirely. Fully present. Fully engaged. The kind of joy that does not perform, but overflows. Kneeling, lifting, laughing, narrating the world as if telling the greatest story ever written. Because to the twins it was. This was their first Christmas that felt real. Not symbolic. Not remembered through photos. But lived. The gifts were thoughtful, not excessive. Chosen for touch, sound, warmth. Wrapped not to impress, but to invite discovery. Paper crinkling became an event. Ribbons became treasures. The smallest reactions became the highlight of the day. And somewhere between the laughter and the quiet pauses, something profound settled in. This was no longer a private life protected from the world. This was a shared life built forward. The celebration extended beyond a single morning. Christmas unfolded slowly, deliberately, as if time itself had agreed to wait. Meals lingered. Music stayed low and comforting. Conversations softened. Everything aligned around the understanding that this was a chapter worth savoring. No schedules. No urgency. No need to be anywhere else. Just presence. For two people who had spent decades living on camera, this Christmas was cinematic in an entirely different way. Not dramatic. Not loud. But deeply human. The kind of beauty that does not ask to be seen, yet leaves a lasting impression. The twins would not remember this Christmas in detail. But that was never the point. The point was the foundation. The atmosphere. The feeling of safety and joy that would quietly imprint itself long before memory could form. The knowledge that they were welcomed into a world that celebrated them fully, without hesitation. And for Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo, that was everything. This was not about proving anything. It was about honoring something new. Something fragile. Something miraculous. A first big Christmas. A home filled with light. And two lives stepping confidently into a future that had suddenly grown twice as bright. Sometimes, the most extraordinary chapters do not need to be announced. They simply arrive. and change everything. And as the day unfolded, the celebration deepened in ways no decoration ever could. There was a quiet awareness in the room that this Christmas would become a reference point. Not because of how grand it looked, but because of how complete it felt. Every choice Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo made that day carried intention, shaped by the understanding that they were no longer celebrating for themselves alone. The twins became the center of gravity. Moments revolved around feeding schedules and nap times, yet nothing felt interrupted. Instead, the rhythm of the day adjusted naturally, bending toward the needs of two new lives without resistance. That, in itself, felt like a revelation. A life once dictated by call times and contracts now guided by softer priorities. There was laughter in the unexpected. A toy that fascinated far longer than anticipated. A pair of small hands reaching toward twinkling lights with complete seriousness. Expressions of wonder that made even the simplest things feel monumental. Lee Min-ho watched closely, as if memorizing each reaction. Not as an actor studying a role, but as a father absorbing a reality he knew would change too quickly. His movements slowed. His voice softened. Every gesture carried the quiet weight of permanence. Song Hye-kyo, meanwhile, held the day together with instinctive grace. Not the polished elegance the world associates with her, but something deeper. A steadiness born from presence. From the kind of love that does not rush or demand, but anchors. There were moments of stillness, too. A Christmas afternoon light stretching across the room. The twins resting peacefully, unaware of the significance surrounding them. The house settling into a calm that felt earned. In those pauses, the magnitude of the day revealed itself fully. This was not a performance. This was a beginning. For years, both had protected their private worlds fiercely, carefully, sometimes painfully. But this Christmas marked a shift. Not an opening to the world, but an opening within. A willingness to let joy be bigger, louder, unapologetic. The celebration did not end with nightfall. It softened into evening, into warmth, into gratitude. Stories shared quietly. Reflections unspoken but understood. A shared recognition that life had expanded in ways neither fame nor success had ever prepared them for. And perhaps that is the most striking part of it all. That after everything they had achieved, everything they had endured, it was this Christmas that redefined abundance. Not measured in scale or spectacle, but in connection. In responsibility. In love multiplied. The twins' first big Christmas was not just a holiday. It was a declaration. A declaration that this chapter would be lived fully. That joy would not be postponed. That wonder would be welcomed without restraint. That the future, though uncertain, would be faced together. Long after the lights were dimmed and the decorations packed away, the essence of that day would remain. Carried forward in routines yet to be formed. In traditions still being imagined. In a family quietly stepping into its own story. Because some celebrations do more than mark time. They mark transformation. And this Christmas did exactly that.